Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your September 26th edition. Traz told you. I'm your host, Traz Snell. As you can hear, a little under the weather. Man, what a week it's been. Luckily, good week for GeekVerse, good week for content, everything like that, and everything else is pretty much okay. But yeah, I know Traz told you kind of a crazy weekend it's been and whatnot, or crazy week, sorry, for what it's been. Going on Monday, had to delay the show, and then we did a show. Me and Taylor kind of made up for it on the Wednesday night, and then there wasn't a show regular slot, so I apologize. Usually, well, I did let you all know and stuff like that, but no, it's been kind of a hectic week here. Let me just get this going there, kill some of this music, but yeah, my oldest twin, but Sydney, one of the twins, she I don't think I ever talked about this on there. A couple months ago, she went into the hospital because she was like, because obviously there was, when I came back, I talked about Valerie, how she spent some time in the NICU. That was not Sydney, that was Valerie, as I just said. She's had problems, and this is the second time she's had pneumonia. When she gets like a bad cold, her breathing can have some issues. We learned this the first time. Luckily, Emily is just like an extraordinaire, like, because she takes, that was her day job, obviously, when she goes back and whatnot. But she picks up on that stuff. Now I can know what to look for, like, oh, that's what it is. But the first time she was like wheezing a lot, and then they went in, and yeah, her oxygen was like a lot lower than it should be. And then we went through all that, and that was months ago, and that was a scary time because this is the first time dealing with it. And we had again where she had a cold. We listened, still had it, and then same thing. They're like, "Oh yeah, if you would have waited any longer, you should have called an ambulance." It's like, "Oh my god!" So they were there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So that's why Monday there was no episode, and it was kind of like my schedule was kind of in flux the whole time. Luckily, she's still doing good. She has an inhaler now. She's gonna be taken for the next 6 weeks, which she's, I won't say like, but starting to be more comfortable with. At first, you had to like pin her down, everything. She has some medicine, whatnot. So yeah, she's gonna do that, and then when 6 weeks we get X-rays to just check and continue game plan and whatnot. But yeah, that was it. So people in general have just been sick and not feeling good. So it's been a crazy week. I'm ready to next week. I got randomly one day off because of Truth and Reconciliation Day here, and then Thanksgiving for Canada's coming up. So hopefully some break. But the next few weekends are super busy. So yeah, today we're gonna talk about some Spider-Man rumors, some James Bond rumors, and then I'm gonna give you my one battle after another review. I'm probably gonna do that at like the 40-minute mark. So my plan is to do 10 non-spoilers, and if I need spoilers, I'll do it in the 10-minute section after. I don't think I will, but if I do, I'll leave it to the very back half. So yeah, just kind of a chill show and whatnot. So yeah, I apologize for the kind of delays there, but try to make up for it with me and Taylor talked about the what trailers, oh, Mandalorian, Grogu, and that type of stuff. So yeah, no, it's been a good week. Lots of fun stuff going on as far as content wise. Next few weeks though it's busy, whether it's podcasting or life wise. After Extra Life, it's gonna quiet down as far as content, and then quiet down life stuff. But it's just like Thanksgiving, Halloween, this birthday, this event, blah, blah, blah. So there's just a lot of stuff going on. But we appreciate the support as always. I appreciate you listening to this show. Whether it's this episode or any other episode, tons of content on the feed. Obviously, we only do this for an hour, so all I'll pimp out today is next week. There'll start to be more of an official roll on everything, but Extra Life is happening November 8th, a little later this year because Kirkland will be in Japan, so we're doing it one weekend later. But that's our 24-hour stream where we stay up for BC Children's Hospital, and obviously, luckily, nothing happened where she had to go to a specific kid's hospital, but things like that, like the people, doctors, nurses, like when I was in the NICU with Valerie, people work hard and they need resources, and these for kids, which people, haven't even got a start in life. If you look at BC Children's Hospital, I read a story a couple years ago of parents thinking of like, these kids have it really rough, not saying it's not good for anybody, right? But it's completely unfair for some kid that's just starting and has, whether it's cancer, or when I was in the NICU, there was a kid that needs some sort of transplant, and they were only like, I can't remember, like 5 to 6 months old, and they're like, Jesus, like, I luckily Valerie out there and is all fine now, but lots of bad stuff can happen. So that's what BC Children's Hospital does. All the donations are tax deductible. We've got a goal of 2,500. We'll have stretch goals. We're gonna have a fun night. Trivia will be back. There's a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, it's kind of our year ender, even though December we still keep going. Like that's our big event. Obviously, GV Day now is getting bigger, which is great. But this is GV Day is for our fan base, and that's for you guys, which do support us big time to kind of support our content for the rest of the year and more back half next year and plan for that. This is specifically just for charity, and yeah, just even you donate a couple dollars, everything counts. It's not a thing where we got to hit the amount and then the money goes away. No, any money goes towards there, and if you can't, that's completely fine. Just share the link, spread it, come watch. Like if people don't know algorithms and statistics, the more you like a YouTube video, the more you share a video or a tweet or whatever, it gets seen. And I say this every year, it's cliche. I think almost every year we've had someone donate that none of us for the table knew. So it's gonna be a good time. There's gonna be the shirts coming out. So yeah, it's gonna be it always is. I'm looking forward to it, even though I gotta work the Monday this time. Fuck Mr. Patzer. I'm happy to move it for him because Core 4, part of the GV crew, but I booked the Monday off of the first Monday of November, but then we moved all. But that's actually okay because the original Extra Life, it is the first weekend, but it's the day after Halloween. Halloween's on a Friday. Can't wait for that. But that wouldn't have been good. So granted, we'll see how I do work wise. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. That's what's going on. So yeah, let me pull up some of these rumors. There's been a bunch of news, and I have news that I've even saved, but that's what I'm gonna say as like a little programming note. Next week I think the show is going to be Wednesday and Friday instead of the Monday and Wednesday, because I'm gonna see Smash Machine. So just like this, I will have a mini review, then Wednesday we'll tackle some news, and then I think the week after there was something funky because of the holidays. I didn't even think about that, because let me see the okay, no, maybe it's not it, so don't worry, it's just next week, Wednesday, Friday. Then we'll probably get back to the regular Mondays. Obviously, we got some holidays coming up, but yeah. So I got tons of like news and stuff, but I'm kind of saying it for different time because like the Dexter shake-up stuff. I got this female Voldemort thing, but just gonna hit on some of these rumors that have come up the past few days as far as Spider-Man and James Bond, and I will bring these up. The Spider-Man ones there's been a couple more today, but let's see what's going on here. I think there's just one I wanted to bring up in particular because I don't think this would happen. So I'm gonna give you all the rumors, right? And then I'm going to give a rumor that you could skip or mute for like 5 seconds or like a couple minutes because it could be a spoiler. I don't know if it is, and if it is, it's not one that I would particularly like as far as something they're planning on doing with maybe the Hulks or like just I don't know, changing some things up with the Hulk and his effects on the MCU. It's very I don't know, just kind of shoehorned in, I would say, right? But some of these newest rumors. Also, we got, I guess this is not even a rumor, though. I guess technically it is, right? It's S-tier rumor. But Tombstone got cast this week. That's really cool. It's tons of fun. We'll talk about that in a second. It's probably the biggest part of this rumor where we got Scorpion, we got Tombstone. I know there's all these other rumored ones. And I think Tombstone was rumored, but the fact that it's confirmed, that's really cool. So I do like that. Okay, who knows what's gonna happen? It's sandwiched in between Doomsday, but the kind of adding of these street level characters, that is fun, even if they're in there only for a little bit. I think that's a good time. It's funny that the actor they got, he's voiced him in the Spider-Man 4 game, he's voiced him in the Spider-Verse film, so he's just claiming the Tombstone role. It's his now, I guess, right? So Tombstone's definitely like a favorite lackey in mind. Me and Kirkland have talked about before. There's some people that might put like a Rhino on a lackey. I'm like, no, he's above. Like that's like an A tier for enjoyment. Tombstone, definitely a lackey, but I think he's just the right amount of lackey for whatever's going on here. So I'm happy about that. So I guess I can lead with this one where there's I'd say it's like a C tier scooper that put out. They do this like Q&A all the time, right? Some things are true, some things are not. Who knows, right? But they said an order for, I can't remember the set of the question about it, why it was, street level, more of these things happening. And I will read the quote was, let's see, Marvel had to give up something in exchange for making brand new day street level. What are they giving up? I don't know. I'm hoping it's just fun stuff in Spider-Verse movies. I don't want don't get me wrong. I know he has lots of fans. I'm sure some people would love to see Tom Hardy and all that show up in Secret Wars. I guess you could, because that's just bringing in every Marvel thing. So fine, but I don't really need it because that's part of this thing where also in this report that the Black Symbiote, it's kind of I don't know, like scoopers have talked about being in there, talked about not being in there. I still think it's going to be in there, not just because of the club reports and stuff. I just feel like some way or another it could. Plus, you have that Scorpion actor who kept like posting those Scorpion Venom photos, right? But that was another part of this where it said, okay, the symbiote will be around in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies going forward, but it's not going to have they're never going to be like, oh, this came from this universe in reference to Tom Hardy. It's just a thing that exists, which is kind of funny because no matter what, like that is the origin. It came from Tom Hardy, but that's okay. I digress. Let's just not worry about that. I don't need him to be, oh, Peter, and he has a fun relationship. Like, whatever. Like, what is the explanation? I don't know, but I guess that's what, oh, excuse me. Again, still under the weather. That's what Secret Wars is going to do, right? Where it's going to change a few things of the origins and keep some events, lose some other events. I digress. But to give something up, let's just hope it is something minor, And even then, like you got to say, I know people talk about being worried, but as far as loading this film up, Yelena, Hulk, John Bernthal. Oh, excuse me. For some reason, my voice gives out. Then we'll just go to one battle after another review and call it quits. But who knows? But I've talked about this before, where I don't know if any of those are like the A tier, like a. So you had Downey Cumberbatch. I'd say star-wise, that's an A tier, and even the character, Doctor Strange, become an A tier, right? Sam Jackson's an A tier actor, because I was going to ask the question. I don't think Nick Fury's the A tier character, but because it's Sam Jackson, that works. I don't know if any of these people are. They are A-list actors, but you know what I mean as far as A tier, as far as a certain legendary, iconic sort of thing, right? With Benedict Cumberbatch, I don't know if you can call him like an icon or a legend yet, but he just has multiple franchises and multiple facets out there, right? Like Samuel Jackson, where Mark Ruffalo, big star, but his biggest franchise is the Hulk, right? Berthnall, he's been in tons of stuff, but he's never like led like a massive, huge success thing, right? As far as the like a movie goes, right? And Florence Pugh, even Thunderbolts, you can argue that she's the main face there. There's tons of faces on the poster, but she's the main one, and it's still underperformed, right? So to me, I look at it as like it's a lot of B tier ones up there, and I'm excited for all that. Obviously, lots of stuff could get very shoehorned in, but I trust them for the most part, even though Marvel's been a little wonky right now. But yeah, Tombstone, that's really exciting. That's tons of fun. I like that. Yeah, we talked about the canon of that. The symbiote origin is going to be ignored. That's fine. Let's see. The Yelena cameo is supposedly going to be like Matt Murdock's in No Way Home. So, got a scene or two, which makes sense. Not sure what it is. I imagine it's just her trying to recruit Spider-Man for the new Avengers, maybe. I don't know. This seems to be an obvious one. MJ's going to have a new boyfriend. Like that. To me, that makes sense. That is like we don't know how many years it's been when they're going on canon wise, but at least it's been a couple, and it's not that she's even moving on from Peter. Peter just doesn't exist, right? And you get that push and pull. He's going to see her. It's just a question. Again, we've all asked: are they going to bow tie this storyline in this project and her already be, oh, Peter, I loved you? Or are they going to ignore that for a little bit? I wouldn't mind if they ignored it for a little bit, especially if Zendaya is so busy and doing all this stuff and you don't know for sure she's locked down for Spider-Man 5 in a big role. Keep it this way, I wouldn't even mind. Like, it's a sad end, but imagine if that never happens. What happens if he like dies, passes on Miles Morales, and that's when MJ can remember, like, on his deathbed, right? But I'm fine with Spider-Man getting a tragic story like that. It sucks, but sometimes that happens to our hero. So, but that's another obvious one. There's a rumor out there that the villain is a shapeshifter, female. Don't know what that is. Don't think it's a scroll. I guess because I've seen some people like float around. Could it be like a gender bent chameleon? And that could make sense because I feel like last year we talked about. I feel like me and Kirkland did a weekly geek, and there was like a C plus tier rumor about Chameleon being in this movie. Yeah, and I thought we talked about it because it was, well, Craven just did them, and that's kind of odd. And obviously the C tier rumor is just that they were in there, so we talked about the possibility of at that point it was like a multiverse, bigger movie. This still sounds like a big movie, right? But something bigger, and it's like, well, where does Chameleon fit in here? That could fit, especially too, as that's a good way to change it from Craven. Like I said, I didn't have it in the news, but for me, it's just I'm completely down for gender bending characters. I think that's I don't. So here's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like I feel less so about race with that. I don't mean in the sense of, oh my god, Iron Man's black. Not so much that. I mean in the sense that like T'Challa can't go from being a black guy to a white guy, you know? So, um, the thing is, with for me, the characters when they gender swap, there's some fun to do there, right? And I didn't have it in the news. That rumor going around for Voldemort and Harry Potter that they're auditioning male and females actors. I love that because I don't think there's necessarily something in Voldemort that has to be a male or female, right? It's a dark, big time evil wizard that wants power over, mudbloods and muggles and all this type of stuff, right? So for me, it's the same thing with Chameleon and Voldemort's a much bigger character. Is there going to be pushback if that happens? Absolutely, right? I think that's just a fun way to differentiate yourself from the Harry Potter movies. Like, look at Snape. Not only, obviously, he's not a white man, that actor is not an Alan Rickman type. I think he's going to do something completely different with it, right? So the same thing as far as, okay, if it's a female, if it's Kate Blanchett, is she British? Yeah, I think she's British, right? Or am I wrong? Am I just? No, she's just American. Yeah, she's just American. Did I just make that up? Someone tell me if anyone in the chat knows Kate Blanchett. Am I just making up that she's not just regular American? Has she just played British a couple times? And I think that, but you get Kate Blanchett to play Voldemort. That's great. So same thing, Chameleon. I could see them being like, hey, and again, Chameleon is if it is primarily just a main street level, right? I'm sure might be some multiverse mumbo jumbo put in there or an end credit, but let's say it is a similar to Spider-Man 1. Like to me that is street level enough. You have Shocker, Vulture, you got Iron Man in there who's like an Avenger threat, but if it's that type of level where it's just Spider-Man's trying to stop Vulture from stealing some Stark tech, if that's Chameleon, that works as the main villain. If we get to a bigger scope, like there's been some weird rumors, and this is where I guess the multiverse stuff would come in, that Sadie Sink is playing like some version, like some character, I can't remember their name from Marvel Comics, where they're like the human form of the multiverse. All right, I don't know. I don't know if I love that, because I guess that could be a MacGuffin, but in that sense, if we get too big, I don't see where Chameleon could really fit in. But Kate Blanchett is Australian. Thank you, Superman Mike. I conflated the two, so thank you. So maybe she wouldn't be Voldemort, but hell, make her the female Chameleon, right? But I mean, let's say the street level, they have Chameleon written in there. It works for X, Y, and Z, but they go, we just didn't Craven. And even though, I guarantee you, even though they're Spider-Man characters, the Venn diagram, because what did Craven make, right? Didn't even make 100 million, right? Craven, 2024. Still have not seen Craven. I have to mark that off the list one day. So it made 62 million. Yikes. I'm going to say the majority of the people that see Craven, or so that the I'm gonna say majority of the people that saw Craven will see Spider-Man. Majority of the people that see Spider-Man 4 will not have seen Craven. So that's one thing where really would it matter that you have a male Craven or a male like Chameleon again? No. But if they at the same time too, reports came out around Craven or after Craven, that's when Sony was ending their kind of continuity, right? Oh, super bad. Mike, Ava Green as Voldemort. Absolutely. And that's the thing, like, I'm fine both ways. If they want to race or like sure, race swap, but if they wanted to gender bend Bellatrix Lestrange, sure, make that dude. Or if you want to make her, a lesbian, that's fine too. Like I don't think Voldemort's gonna care that much. I've not read the books, so I don't know as far as what it goes for those type of relationships, if there's any of that type of stuff there, because yeah, Dumbledore's gay, right? So but I just mean like, because Voldemort's like a allegory for Hitler, would that be a thing of like, we don't like mudbloods, muggles, people that aren't straight, I don't know. So that's a whole different thing. But Ava Green as Voldemort, that'd be fantastic, Mike. So I definitely with you on that one. But let's say there's some world where the Sony universe was still going, they wanted to use Chameleon, they go, well, what if we use a female version, right? So I'd be completely down. We'll see what happens there. And that's the thing. It could be so many different characters. I'm sure there's many shapeshifter females and just shapeshifters in the MCU. Same thing. They might change it from a male to a female and just go, well, we'll do it like this. And great, it's now female because we got Kate Blanchett and she's gonna rock it, right? Because there was rumors of Nicole Kidman. There was rumors of what's the girl from Succession? She's a really good actress. I've seen her in other stuff. What is her name? Succession. Sarah Snook. Yeah. So she's really good. So we'll see. There's still like stuff evolving with this, right? The fact that the guy just got cast as Tombstone, I'm sure it was still months to weeks earlier, but the fact that we're hearing about it now, there's still stuff moving around. So we'll see. And then with Hulk. So here's the portion you don't have to skip where apparently in this movie he's going to be the most savage he's ever been, right? He's going to be supposedly, I love this rumor, like, and he might kill somebody. It's like, well, you're telling me and all, like, what about Segovia? I think he killed a lot of people. Now, granted, he was under the control of Scarlet Witch, but like, I think all those times, even in New York, right, like when he's kicking ass and everything, like, I'm sure the Hulk's killed a great many people, but I'm guessing if this is like a character of ours, maybe that's how Ned bites it. I don't know. Now, here's with a grain of salt. This is a C tier rumor. You can skip it. It is the kind of, this rumor is going back into what something that might have happened with the Hulk and Peter Parker in the past. Okay. I'll give you a second if you want to mute. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay. This might not even be true. There's a rumor going around that part. I hate this so much. It's true. That it might be revealed that in the Battle of New York, that the Hulk accidentally killed Peter Parker's parents. Oh boy, I guess we're going back to the Batman 89, like, you killed my parents. That would not be needed at all. That's one of those things that I feel like if I'm watching the movie and it's in there, to me, the motivation is, even though they've not had much screen time, is I know Bruce Banner's a good guy. He's an Avenger. I gotta try and save him. Even though he's this savage, I gotta try and save him. And the push and pull is John Bernthald's Punisher, who's, I'm gonna fucking murder the screen guy, right? I don't also need, because I guess what is John Bernthal going to be in his ear, like, he killed your parents, Parker, but like that to me, and for that to never have come up, like, granted, I guess Civil War Banner's not there. He's not with Banner in Infinity War, right? Because Banner's on Earth and then Spider-Man's in space, and then in Endgame, not really in the battle. So obviously the Thanos thing, but I just feel like it would have came up at some point. That just feels like in anything. Now, granted, it could have came up off screen, but it just feels unnecessary. It just feels something like, oh, Hulk Savage, and guess what? He also killed your parents. Because, like, that just feels kind of what my biggest complaint is lately with stuff where it's just of, which happened a lot in Hollywood, but just especially this summer when I watched Happy Gilmore, of characters being related to relations shake, right? To me, adding the Hulk accidentally killed Peter's parents in New York just feels like a lazy, we don't really have an idea, or we don't want to go through, or maybe we don't have the time to write something really deep for just Peter and Bruce to have an issue or to have a conflict. So he killed his parents, and here we go. So yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that it is just one of these rumors that goes around, but you never know. I remember it was like 3 or 4 years before Civil War, whenever they're just going in production, I guess, right? There was a rumor going around that the big reveal was going to be that Bucky killed Tony's parents. And it's funny, when I saw them, I'd completely forgotten about that. And it was to the point where it was from a scooper that had like a lot of like misses and whatnot. So when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, god damn, I remember that. Like, it was right when they got in the room. The story started to flow back in my mind of, oh, right, that's where this is heading. And you kind of get that from the movie already, the way Zemo's setting up, right? But I remember hearing that, being like, right. So this could be one of those things. My hope is it's just like a dead idea and nothing that needs to actually be incorporated. I just don't think that's really needed. I don't know. And Hulk being savage, great. I think it's tough, though, if they make him savage and kill Peter's parents. Maybe he kills one of our characters. I don't know where you necessarily go with Hulk after the fact. I guess it's like another, it's always tough because you can't get his own movie. The idea is a redemption factor or something really dark and deep with Bruce, but that'd be in his own movie, right? We've seen that. I think they did their best, and I think the Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame was the best they could do with evolving him a lot in between movies and with other movies, right? I don't think that's been great so far, the use of the character since then, in She-Hulk and other projects. And even then, lots of people say, like, I wish I would have saw X, Y, and Z with Infinity War to Endgame, right? With Hulk, and that's the tough thing. We just don't get to. So, but at the same time, that could be a character that's killed, rebooted, and Hulk just Hulk all the time. I don't know. It's tough. So, Mike says they're going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting to explain how Hulk goes from what he is in She-Hulk to sort of being a bad guy again. It just feels like backsliding. Yeah, I guess there was. I completely, because now it sounds like Mr. Negative's not in this, and Mr. Negative to me would have been a way. He's not you're negative now, but just like felt like he could have messed with the like just the internalness of Hulk with his power set to just make that happen. I know in the comics, I think it's Scar, right, that gets killed. So Scar is in here. And I guess it could just be another character, right? Because technically, like you could just have a character like a Scarlet Witch that took over Hulk and made him crazy again. But I agree with you, Mike, where I feel like they're trying to juxtapose to get him to the point where he's like this all the time again. And that's the thing where for me, I know people want that Hulk back. I guess I do too, in a sense. It's just that I remember when Smart Hulk came up, Professor Hulk. I think most, no, I won't say most, but a lot of people like myself were on board because it felt like, what else can we do with Hulk right now, right? It felt like they were kind of running ideas. So with Hulk, I feel like he would actually really benefit from them doing a full reboot, or obviously not a full reboot, but like changing his POV and stuff. Maybe you can just make him, talk the whole time and everything. But yeah, so I don't know if I love that idea if they happen, but I'm down for Savage Hulk, so we'll see. And then the Bond rumors. So let me pull up here too. Nothing crazy other than I'm not a fan of maybe. I had it here. I'm not a fan of going back to an origin point, so points per se. So this was coming from, I think it was Variety. So it is like AS tier stuff, and this is far off, right? There could be a year or two from now where he like if it is not, Villeneuve's not even directing anymore. I think that'll still happen, but you never know in Hollywood, right? So filming begins in 2028 or 2027, and it says set for release in 2028, possibly in November, like the previous films. That makes sense, and to me, same thing. Like, so Dune is supposed to come out next year. Could always get pushed to the next year. Like this time frame seems about right. Sounds like he's going to be searching for his Bond early next year. They will be searching for a fresh face British male actor. Could be an actor of color, which, again, I'm for both ways, right? I think I've not read the books. I'd love to actually start reading some of the books, even if they're audiobooks. But there's a point when we did the Batman fan cast last week or the week before, whenever I did that, and when I was talking about there being a black Batman, where I said I've heard the argument of some people saying, well, there's a lot of things that not are super avert with the Bruce Wayne character, but enough of them where you go, maybe this guy couldn't be black, because there's just certain things that he gets away with and certain just kind of white privilege that Bruce Wayne might have. And I think that kind of depends on story to story, but I'm saying that's like, that makes sense, right? Like that, I understand. You go, okay, I could see that point of view and why you would get there with Bruce Wayne. With Bond, I think there's probably some aspects of that for sure, but I feel like it's a more natural. He's just a really good agent, hard nosed, womanizer, all that, like what we know and love of Bond, right? Where I feel like that can be an actor of color. I'm down. Fresh face. I don't know why fresh face, British male. That makes sense to me because obviously we're still gonna do our Bond fan cast. We're supposed to do that in like July. I think we're gonna do it in September because it said what, early 2027 he was gonna start or I think it's like, I can't remember. It's not on this part, but sometime either it was like late next year, early the year after, he was gonna start looking for his Bond. To me, other than all of them have been really, I won't say no names, but lesser known, right? People could argue because obviously Pierce Brosnan had, God, what's that show? I've never watched it, but it was a show. God damn it. Someone will get in the comments. But he was in a show that had a female lead. That was Magnum Steel, I think it was, where he's playing like a Bond type. And that was a hit show. But still, he wasn't like a massive movie star, right? When people, obviously he's older now, but would name it like Tom Hardy or Henry Cavill. It's like they don't do that. I'm not saying they liked, even Daniel Craig. He was in stuff, but he was not, you would say Daniel Craig and be like, who's that? Now you go, oh, okay, that's a Bond. I don't say they want to own the person, but I feel like they like to have that idea of you see Bond first. Because, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, the good thing with Daniel Craig, he has stuff like Knives Out, and Pierce had a great career too, and Sean Connery's had a great career. But I think they like the idea when you see them, you initially think Bond, and then you think the other stuff, right? And I think most actors, especially young actors in Hollywood, they're going to take that as long as it's like a good run, right? With Dalton's kind of a failed one, George Lazenby kind of a failed one, depending who you ask. But I mean, like he didn't continue on more, right? And Dalton only got 2. So I don't think any actor's going to have a problem with that. I just feel like that's what they want. And don't get me wrong, I think I kind of prefer that. I hear, even like myself, when I hear someone say like Jacob Elordi, like, oh, that's great. I can picture that. But I'm completely down to get immersed and just see Bond. That's one of my biggest issues right now with the Star Wars Starfire one, right? Where it's like Amy Adams, Ryan Gosling, Matt Smith, Mia Goff, Remington Still. Thank you, not Magnum Still, Remington Still. Thank you very much. My dad was a big fan of that show. I think I might have. I don't know if it's his or mine. A box set somewhere. But yeah. So I'm completely down for that. I think that is the best way to go. And that's where it's like we will do fan casts of who we think and X, Y, and Z, but that's gonna be more for fun. And the thing is too, if they are casting in even a year from now, 2026 September, which sounds like that could be there could be other actors that we don't even know about that are on the block, right? That have not even be not they could have not even been acting yet in something that's not on the massive movie screen, right? So the massive movie screen. I don't know why I said it like that, but you know what I mean, right? You catch my drift. So let's see. Yeah, set for release in 2028 November. Yeah, that makes sense. I think those are good times for Bond. I feel like it's kind of a Bond season, unless it's like a really summery Bond. Then I'd say you go in the summer, but the summer movie season is always tough. I feel like Bond works in the fall. Plus, it kind of works too if they want to angle for some Oscars, right? We'll see what happens with Dune 3 and if Denis can actually get a fucking Oscar for directing, at least a nomination. My God, he should have won it by now, but I imagine it's gonna be like Nolan, where he has to do something else to kind of earn it a little bit. You know, it's almost like, oh, we don't want to give it to you. You want to like just keep putting out that quality. You don't get it. Don't be wrong. I think Denis Villeneuve will win an Academy Award one day. It just has to be the right project. And then this is the little thing where currently believed to focus on Bond's early career as a Royal Navy commander prior to being recruited to MI6. I have zero interest in that. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, and someone in the Discord said this, and I agree. Moby said like, "Oh, if the quality's there, I'm happy." At the end of the day, you have Denis Villeneuve and Stephen Knight, but Denis Villeneuve writing his, you know, or whatever, doing his Bond movie. I really have no doubts that it's at least going to be a 7 out of 10. I think easily Denis could, for my enjoyment level, make a 10 out of 10 fantastic Bond. Like, I really have no worries about that. So, obviously, that's the thing where if this was a pitch for someone else, they go, that doesn't interest me, and this director's fine. But hearing it with Denis, it's like, okay, I know what we're getting. I know the scale we're getting. This is going to be pretty phenomenal. So, at the end of the day, this, like, log line not exciting me, that you know that really doesn't mean too much, right? It's just asking my thoughts of, hey, if you were to no director involved read this, would this be exciting? No, because I think it's one, just I don't, that doesn't excite me, and two, I just didn't really want to go back to Bond having an origin. I know people could make the case of, well, Amazon now owns Bond and they kind of want to sit there, you know, feed and cement of this is our Bond. Yeah, but if things go the way they go as the rest of history is going, eventually you will recast this Bond, right? So I don't know. I guess maybe that's what they want, is for every recast of Bond that we do in the future, we want you to know that, hey, what's the origins of this Bond? It's this movie right here. Like when you watch this movie, that tells you everything you need to know about Bond, and then we're just changing the actor up, right? Which I don't think needs to be the case. And I'm not saying never do I need that, but with the Craig ones, we kind of had that, right? It was almost like a mini Spider-Man where it didn't feel like, you know, how people said, oh, at the end of No Way Home, we finally felt like the Spider-Man we know and love. You know what I mean? As far as like being adult on his own, that broke everything. That's how it kind of felt like at the end, or even when we started Skyfall. But even then, he got shot, and then for half the movie, he's not an agent. So it's like the first movie is the origin. Obviously, he's on like a Bond-like mission, but that's the origin, right? Quantum of Solace, he at the end introduced himself as, you know, James Bond, James Bond, 007, all that stuff. But he's like on a rogue, almost Mission Impossible, oh, he's incognito type of mission, right? And then Skyfall, he's on a mission as an agent, gets shot, and then for over half the movie, he's kind of, again, off the grid. And then not until, I'd say, Spectre. And then even then with No Time to Die, he's like retired. So all this time where it's like, we're doing the origin James Bond. He wasn't, like, if you think about in duty, the time on screen, he probably wasn't like the 007 Bond as much as you would think, right? So that's, again, for me, where it's like the plot, I go, all right, that doesn't excite me. And then I go, like, I don't need another origin. I'm just fine. You just pick up and go, you know? But again, if this is this movie that Stephen Knight and Denis want to tell, I had my face there. I'm not really worried. It's just kind of like, okay, I guess, but that would mean I'm assuming no M and Q, or maybe do they come in more in the third act where he gets, you know, recruited? And same thing. is this just the log line where this is for the first act of the movie, and then the second act is like, here's MI6 and here's this. That's fine. Again, I don't really need that type of origin stuff. I don't need the meeting Moneypenny for the first time, like we just did with Craig, meeting Q for the first time. I'm kind of fine if that's all established, but again, I'm not gonna not trust Denis. Now, if I watch the movie and it feels a little rinse and repeat, or just doesn't reach the heights of Denis' work, or the material's just not that interesting, I will, call it out. Like everybody, like even Nolan, I don't really have any movie that's close to. I don't think I have any movie his as like below a 7, but even something like Insomnia, which I really like, it just doesn't feel exactly like a Nolan movie. It's earlier Nolan, but that's my thing where, okay, the story is good. I think it's also raised by these actors who are phenomenal with Pacino and Swank and Rob Williams. But it's not one where I go, man, that's a Nolan classic, right? And I don't think that's gonna be the case with Bond, but you never know. Anything can happen. Anyone can have a bad day at the office, right? Superman Mike says Dalton kind of got screwed over because they won Bronson. He was contracted to the show and he was freed up and they replaced him. Yeah, and I don't know what those did. I should look at what they did back in the day, but that was the story where I I don't think it's as dramatic as this, but I think it's like either he was gonna go sign a contract or they were planning to, like, it was like the week of an announcement, he was heading over there and he got the call Pierce about like, no, you can't do this, the show's still contracting you to do these episodes and everything like that, which sucks. It sucks all around, right? It sucks for Dalton. Also, I'm sure he got paid well, and I gotta revisit those. I know one day me and Kirkland will. We've said this before that we were maybe gonna do it. We hinted about doing it for the games, but now we're just too busy. And plus, luckily the GVDA, the stretch goal, you guys unlocked us doing a whole franchise. But that's where like, okay, we'll wait till the movie. But we've always said what we're gonna do is the eras. The next time patrons vote on what we do, we got the Connery era, we got the Moore era, we got the Pierce era. What we're gonna do with the Dalton, because there are only two, we'll put Dalton and Lazenby together. But yeah, I'm excited to rewatch both of those because I have not seen those in like a clean probably 15 years. Actually no, I guess maybe 12, because I think me and Emily watched them in our first year of dating, and even though 12 years ago is not a lot, the Dalton ones didn't speak to me too much, and the Lazenby ones, I feel like I need to watch in a different, because I've heard some people, especially Nolan, talk so glowingly about it, and I definitely know too that I feel like people that enjoy the books like that, and I think even Clay does. But I've always said I do need to rewatch it. I just remember every time in my life I've rewatched it, is just, this is just not for me. It's not the Bond movie for me. Bond getting married, being retired. But I do need to watch them both with like a critical eye, and I feel like I went into them both knowing, well, Lazenby's not Connery or Moore, and Dalton is not Pierce. With Pierce, like, and it's funny because I think lots of people say like Dalton feels very close to the books, but as far as the Bond that I prefer, I do like to have a bit more piss and vinegar. I do think that my favorite is still Pierce, but I do think the best is Craig. You can't say, I get people that say Connery, but I think what I like about Craig's is that he is the fucking bull in the china shop, right? Like, he is a believable, if it comes down to it, he will beat you to a bloody pulp, right? Where Connery, it's a lot of hi-ya and elbow, like it's very kind of, schlocky, but that was the era, right? So let's see, Timothy Dalton Bond movies. I just wanted to see if I could quickly pull them up. I just wanted to see what they did compared to oh my god. Oh, I put in Timothy Bond. Oh, I did. Oh my god. Timothy Dalton Bond is what I need to do. I just wanted to see comparatively what his movies did. Okay, so Daylights. See, I couldn't even name those. License to Kill I could name. Daylights I could not kill, or I could not name. Let's see, License to Kill. So there we go. Daylight Bond movie. Is that the movie? The Living Daylights. I don't know what Google's doing to me over here. My God. Okay, so let's just pull this up before we get to our one battle after another. And like I said, that will be primarily non-spoilers. Don't worry if anyone's listening or watching, or if you don't care, then thank you for watching as always. But like I said, later in the day, didn't want to break the vocal cords and see Golden Eye, which is coming back in the theaters. I did see it again in the theater, or I saw it for the first time in theaters a couple of years ago, but I would see it again because that's a Mount Rushmore Bond for me. Okay, so Golden Eye, budget 60, and then box office 356. And then Living Daylight, which one was first there? I think it's License to Kill. It's first, right? No, it's not. Okay, so Living Daylights had a budget of 40 million, only made 190 million. And then License to Kill, 32 million, only made 156. And then Goldeneye 356. So even though it's like you said, Mike, where Dalton kind of got screwed over, it kind of wasn't working, right? Like I feel like you can kind of see that from the big, like it's not even just like a little bit of a jump. It's a big jump. Go from 150 to 350 between Bonds. Definitely shows that I just don't think Dalton. I like I said, I haven't read the books, but I think for what people expect from Bond, he was missing some of that charm and charisma that Connery, Craig, and Pierce have. Moore has it, but it's very over the top. Where Lazenby, I think he has that, but he doesn't have the killer instinct part, right? Where Dalton definitely has that. Mike says Dalton's my third favorite behind Craig and Connery. The movies are so-so, but he's fantastic. Yeah, for me, it's for favorite, not best. It's Pierce. I grew up with Pierce, but I think he's a good combo of Connery and Moore. Where Craig has some of those aspects, but he's definitely more he's almost his own beast, right? He's more serious. But for me, it goes like let's see, Pierce, Craig, Connery, Moore, Dalton, Lazenby. But like I said, I need to rewatch those Dalton ones. So yes, so one battle after another. I got to see it last night, fucking 10 p.m. for a 2:40 movie. You can go back on the cast earlier this year. Every year we do our movie preview, right? We go down all the movies at the end of the year. At the end of the episode, we name 5 of the movies we're most anticipated for the year. And this was on the list when it was named like the battle at Backen Rock or whatever, which is so funny because that's a location in this movie. It's like Backton Rock. And I was like, right, because when I heard that title, you can hear Kirkland corrects me like 5 times on it. And who knows what it's going to do to the box office, right? We'll talk about that on the Wednesday. Even though I usually do box office on the Monday because there's no episode Monday, we'll do it on the Wednesday. Don't know how this movie's going to do. I think it's tracking at, like they said, 20 to 30 million. But the problem is that production budget is like 130 to 140. It's not going to make that back. But I think if they can have a little bit up bump with the good word and then the Oscars, which I think it's going to get nominated and win a lot of Oscars, I think Warner Bros. Will probably be okay at that, right? Like, 'cause there's tons of people that are considering this as like this could win the Oscar. And I will say that I do think it could. I think it's a really good shot because I think that obviously PTA, people have been waiting almost like Nolan. And I think, funny enough, I think Tarantino's, like, unless the 10th one really hits, I think, unfortunately, he's going to go down as just one of those greats, like a Dan Marino that never won the big one. He's won an Oscar, right? But he's never won for Best Picture or Best Directing. To me, those are the two. You'd probably like to do like Nolan and get the double. That is like the dream for a director. But for that, I think with PTA, I could really see this being the year they crown him because the movie is very political and very timely, right? I do agree, and we were talking on the Discord a little bit there with Clay, because Clay gave the classic meme, 2.5 on a very anticipated movie, right? He didn't really like it. I can say I really, really enjoyed this. I don't know if I can say I loved it. I loved a lot of it. But I do agree with them where there's aspects that are very on the nose, but then also that they don't dive completely into it. Like, I could be wrong because there's tons of dialogue and whatnot. I don't know if I ever heard the words right or left or liberal or conservative. I don't know if those words were ever said, but you clearly know that I think the movie is showing, okay, two sides that have gone too far, right? The things that will happen when you're kind of motivated and you get, God, I can't remember the word, but radicalized. But it's still for sure, like, let's call it what it is, right? Leo and his crew is on the left and Sean Penn and his crew are on the right. They, especially the characters and the people in I won't say pulp culture, just in media that they feel like they're trying to, like, there's definitely with Sean Penn some, like, Robert Kennedy, like junior, like isms there. So that's where it's like you can see everything going on there, but it still feels like at the same time they don't want to deliberately say that. And whether that's a choice to not make people mad, which I don't think that's it. I don't think PTA is, I'm worried I'm going to piss him off. I think it's just we don't want to classify this one way or the other. But to me, it's very much okay, a left thing. And that's where I feel like when you see this happened a lot in Hollywood when there's certain politics happening or certain things. You get a lot of speeches at awards, and that's why I think not only I do think it's a great movie. I currently have it ranked third, and it's the same thing of like I don't know if you're talking favorite versus best. As I've said before, my rankings and letterbox are always an amalgamation of the both, right? My best and favorite list would look very different, but I got it. I think it's technically fourth because I still got behind Wallace and Gromit, but there's a favorite thing, right? Where I got still 20 Days Later and Sinners, but this is up there. And no, I thought this was a fantastic time. I think it is a little long. I think there's some characters where I can't say they're not needed, but it almost would have been a little more or a little less. It feels like some characters are, and that's what PTA does, right? That's even some of my things with Boogie Nights where I just rewatched that. And Mike, if I get to it, I will rank them, but I might do more of a ranking next week because I'm trying to rewatch a lot of these movies because I feel like other than There Will Be Blood, I don't rewatch a lot of his stuff, and I've enjoyed it all. But I also think I've said this before. There was an era of like 2006 to 2008 where I was just spamming like nothing to do, kid in middle school, looking at IMDb top 250 after departing, just watched a bunch of stuff where I'm like, I need to give that another go. So same thing like Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love. I remember liking Magnolia more, but so for me, where I have this ranked as far as the movies right now, I think it's in the upper echelon. I'll just say that right now because I need to rewatch them all. But like Boogie Nights, like that's a movie that I watch and I really enjoy, but it's not one of my favorites like other people's. I think it's also different too because you can tell that's one of those movies, or not different, it's difficult. That's one of those movies that inspired so many other movies. It just feels like you've seen these things before, but there's certain things like I think he's all right, but I don't think Mark Wahlberg like lights the world on fire. You know, like I think there's a reason he hasn't been in another PTA movie. So there's certain things and certain ensemble things too, where there's characters where they go missing for like an hour and they're back. And you're like, right, we're still following the story, right? So it has some of those same maybe critiques I would have. So I wasn't as hard as the political stuff as Clay because I felt like the reason they didn't dive too deep into it is because you just like you look at it and you know exactly what they're doing and all that stuff's done well. I agree with a lot of people where obviously I'm biased. At one point I would say he's like one of the best actors of all. I'll still say he's one of the best actors of all time, but I would have put him as the best. I think he kind of ebbs and flows now because he doesn't work as much, but Sean Penn is doing some real good work in here. He is a very layered, complicated, interesting character. I obviously supporting is always all over the map, and it's tough with this type of role because it's at times a very big piece of shit role. But man, I think there's a good chance that third Oscar is coming for him. But visually, I guess I guess I'm still talking about performances whatnot. Tiana Taylor, I've not seen her really anything acting wise. She's phenomenal. She's great. Yeah, I don't want to say more. I could argue the first act or even I don't want to say too much because I'll just say the first act in general, I think is actually the peak of this movie. I think there's a couple scenes near the end that are maybe could be the best scene of the movie, especially one action car chase is very well done. It is intense. And that's another thing too, a big pro, the score. The score is fantastic. You got piano going on, you got cellos going on, but it's like, it has a good kind of uplifting upbeat to keep the like it feels almost like Uncut Gems where it's like keeping the flow going, but at the same time there's some dread and there's some chords that hit here where you're like, okay, you can feel it. I wish I saw this in a theater that was like had better speakers like on the west side over here for us. So score is phenomenal. Regina Hall's in this, but that's a character that I wanted a little bit more, you know. Same thing, Benicio del Toro, he's good, but I don't think it's anything you haven't seen before, but he's still good. Want a little bit more. Leo's interesting because I won't say he's miscast. He's done this before, and because I've seen this with a bunch of people, right? Where some people don't like goofy Leo. They like when he is, you know, the con man or arrogant or charismatic or a villain, but they don't like this, so they don't like Don't Look Up or even what is it? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I like that Leo. I'm not gonna say prefer. I like all the Leos. I like that Leo. I do think there is some not similarities per se, but again, some isms, some things you can draw from here to Rick Dalton. And there's something in particular too, where I feel like there's a few, I could be wrong. Maybe it was unintentional, but I feel like there's a couple times they're trying to give this character maybe some sort of lisp, but it feels like at times it just kind of goes away. So I don't know if that was just the way Leo sounded that day or that was an intention, and it could have fit, but He's very, very good, but he's definitely, and I gotta find the actress who plays his daughter. I feel like he is the fourth best person in this movie. You know, like he's somebody that I don't think is the same way I think Sean Penn could be a shoo-in to win the Oscar. I think he's a great lead. Don't get me wrong, but when I watched this, I almost was kind of surprised. 'Cause it felt like they'd be better to put him in supporting, even though his name is the top build here. It feels almost, oh, and I guess Kills Flower Moon, right? That's the other one people say kind of play like a goofy, you know, like kind of an idiot and stuff. Same thing. He didn't like, he had kind of share that screen time. He wasn't the lead, even though they marked him as that. So, because yeah, I'd put, because who is it here? God, they got. I knew he has a cast in order. No, they have like an appearance. I think. Oh man, let me go back. I'll try and find her name, but she plays daughter, and I looked at her credits earlier. She's only been in like three things. Chase Infinity. So yeah, I would say it would go Sean Penn, Tiana, and then I'd say Chase and Leo are pretty like neck and neck. If not, I'd give Leo or Chase like a little bit. And I don't think this is like an acting thing per se. I think it's just the script and what Leo's doing. But I was saying earlier, some visuals. This is a movie where it's you look at Boogie Nights, you look at There Will Be Blood, which to me is the best one. There Will Be Blood is, you know, I don't know if I'll ever do this list, but when you're talking about the best movies of all time, not my favorites, I'd make a hard argument for that is in the top 10. That is a work of art. I remember seeing that with my dad and just being we were just both just blown away. Couldn't believe it. I still like No Country for Old Men more, so that's why I was in that camp that year for the Oscar. I was fine with it. But that movie, you could make the case that There Will Be Blood could be better than I don't know. It's tough. Like that's a best versus favorite thing, right? But he's so good at when I talk about Denis Villeneuve or like a Nolan. Sometimes, and Nolan did this in Oppenheimer, so I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying lots of these shots that like look at Inception, look at Dune, huge CGI, big otherworldly. Wow, look at this. PTA and his crew do that with. There's a shot where Tiana Taylor's just walking down a highway and it's a wide shot. That's great. There's a shot where there's a massive fence and the way it's lit and they run through. It's just like visuals to the eyes. And that's what I love where it's a movie where some movies I feel like the big events films go out like we're gonna make a visual, you know, masterpiece. Your eyes are gonna be, you know, people might obviously not a masterpiece, but people look at the Crater last year, right? Everyone said, "Oh, story wise, some writing, maybe not the greatest, but visually, what a smorgasbord," right? Where I feel, don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna be like the old guy that says this, but I've seen some cases, and I could maybe get on board where say some movies from the 80s and 90s were just shot better, like just anything, like a rom com, a comedy, where now it feels like something else as well. It's a comedy, so the jokes got to be best, and the other stuff doesn't matter. It's a horror, so the scares or the gore or the monster has to be the best, but the shots don't matter after. I feel like that is changing because I think we did go through, you know, a decade of a lot of movies just looking not great or shot for straight to DVD because it's streaming, right? It was just like, let's get out there and just rush productions, right? But this movie, multiple times, that highway chase I talked about, multiple times, there's some really great cinematography, some great shots in here that just, while you're and that's a good thing, they linger on them the right amount, and while you're watching, wow, okay, this really delivers. Trying to think if there's anything else for the non, and yeah, I won't do any spoilers because I'll let people see it. There's nothing I fully want to break down. Maybe we'll talk about at the end of the year for Golden Geeks. In the most whatever way, I'll say there's other and that's the other thing too that I saw. Like lots of people say, I just because Clay was talking about this where he thought there was going to be maybe more comedic bits, and he said that for him the humor worked 100%. And Clay, I'm paraphrasing. Everyone check out our Discord. He drops a big review as a website. Check out. Very smart guy. I love talking film with him. Even though I love the meme on with his reviews, I just feel like I think he sometimes get overhyped, and then that's what happens here, right? And maybe that's because I'm like I've enjoyed all PTA's work, but he's not like one of my guys, right? Like Tarantino's one of my guys, and maybe PTA will after I watch this because like There Will Be Blood, this, and even Boogie Nights. Like Boogie Nights, I gave a 4.5 letterbox. It's not one of my favorites. I'll watch it again, but it's not like, man, I love this. But I think PTA just has like a base film score of like, it's usually going to be 4 out of 5, you know, or higher because he's just that damn good. And he is. If you were to tell me, hey, is he one of the best? Oh, absolutely. You know, so that's where, like I said, I'll give him more solid ranking probably next week because I in the middle of There Will Be Blood. I watched Boogie Nights earlier this week. I think Magnolia's next for me, and I've never seen Licorice Pizza, and I've never seen Hard Eight, I think is like his first film, so we'll get there. But there you go, thumbs up. But that's where I guess where Licorice Pizza went back to those roots. But I thought when he did There Will Be Blood, not something changed, but that already showed a new gear to me, so it's interesting where I've heard other things with Clay, like, or from other people like Clay, where it's not so much for him. He said, like, found everything that was humorous very funny, but then there's long stretch without comedy, and then I've seen that it's unlike anything he's ever made before. I guess on the action side, granted, there is some action here, but I also think people have talked that up a bit way too much. There is, I think, there's one great action scene, and there's a lot of scenes with action, but it's not like fucking John Wick out here. And I'm not saying like that has to be the bar for being good, but the way people talked about that, maybe it's just because people didn't think he'd do that at all good. But I was expecting way more action than I got, and I will say a compliment I heard a lot since festivals I do agree with. I was complaining that yes, it was late, 10 p.m. for a 240 movie. It runs by quick. It moves for the most part good. I think in the middle there's a little bit where I could have gotten some characters where I think, put together, chopped. Like it didn't feel, and I feel like Regina Hall's character is one of those where I like that character one more, but I didn't get a full circle complete. And that's where I don't think as well too, this movie is not. It's interesting, right? Because I'm not somebody that feels this need has to happen, but people always ask like how the characters change, what's the arc. I think most of the main characters in movies do not change. It is they have their ideologies and they're set on this collision course, and you're seeing who wins, who comes out on top. I'm completely fine. Some people might take that as like, oh well, what's the point of the story? Like, it's no spoiler. In the trailers they show Leo's story is to get his daughter back. That's his story. He does not like super like there's tons of great acting and tons of moments, and there's one moment, I won't say what happens. Some of her friends come to pick up, and it's just comedic beat. It's not like a big, I'm not spoiling the action set piece or anything. It's a comedic beat that he does, I'll just say with a whisper, fucking got me big time. And that's why I think Leo is really underrated with the comedy. Look at Wolf of Wall Street, right? Like, I guess it's almost a doofus role, but he was charismatic there. But I think there's some stuff where he's out to get his daughter, and that's the movie. He's out to get his daughter one way or another. Whether he gets her or not, you can find out. Whether he lives or dies, you can find out. But there's not like a big overall change in arc with that character, right? So it feels like it's kind of, these are the players on the board, see what happens and the hijinks that happens. I think some of the humor, I said this in Discord last night, for I'd say Sean Penn's stuff and those characters around there, I'll say the men in suits is very similar to Burn After Reading. So if you like that type of style of comedy, so I guess you could say Coen's, but the Burn After Reading one specifically, I was getting a lot of vibes of that. And for me, I guess it's just that I didn't get that. I still got a sense that I was watching PTA. I got a sense that this felt like almost like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but that's different because Tarantino, for me, all his films are very similar structurally as far as the dialogue and the pacing of them. A QT film. With PTA, I think Boogie Nights and There Will Be Blood have minor similarities, but very different films, right? This feels like you're getting the long stretches of Phantom Thread, Master, and There Will Be Blood of talking, in-depth stuff, long, gorgeous shots, really feeling the moment. And then there is moments like, I haven't watched it, but people would talk about with Licorice Pizza, which was like a return to form, what he used to do, or Inherent Vice, which I did not like. I don't know if I could fail it, but for an enjoyment level, I could fail. It was not for me. But then Boogie Nights, or even Magnolia to an extent. I've not watched it in a while. I'd say more like Punch Drunk Love. To me, it's a combo of the things he's done before. Definitely to me leaning more on the Master, There'll Be Blood side, though. It feels like it's that movie and then sprinkled in with some old PTA. So highly recommend it for anybody. I think it's one you should see on the big screen. Support these type of movies because this is a guy that's, him and his team, just a masterclass of filmmaking. And that's where for me it's just, and what I'd give this a 9.5. The reason I just can't get to 10 is just because I can't say like a 10 is I have to see something that I've really never seen before. But even then, I don't think I've ever give something a 10 just purely based on, wow, just 100% amazing filmmaking. Didn't enjoy the movie, but amazing filmmaking. To me, my scores are always, again, based on like a critique and a favorite, where I will definitely watch this movie again. Like Emily hasn't seen it, she wants to see it, but like even without her, I would see this again. Like when it hits streaming, I think I will watch this within the next year or two. It was a good time, and there'll be other stuff. And once I hear other people's thoughts and opinions positive or negative to watch on it again. So I'll definitely watch it again. Like I said, I got on my top 3 favorite movies of the year this year, but it's not a 10 because 10 is like a that's a favorite, right? And this is where the same thing, right? I could technically say something like last couple years ago, right? Because I got the Wuthering Heights trailer. I would say that they have their strengths and weaknesses, but this is a on a technical level a better movie than a Saltburn, right? But I give Saltburn because there's certain things in there, certain strokes, not pun not meant, just certain takes from like, okay, I love this. This is really my jam here. This is my type of movie that I'm gonna return to many times, right? Where I don't think it has that yet, but I'm also not gonna say it's for sure. I actually think I could say it's for sure not a 10 because also the fact that it didn't have like a big like, wow, this is one of the films I absolutely love. Um, which there's things I absolutely love about it, but I just mean like overall, I think everyone knows what like a 10 is to you, right? Or a 5. You know what you consider a perfect film where you feel it in your gut, your heart, right? But as far as right now, maybe it'll change. Some things in the middle, some of the characters where again, all our main characters didn't necessarily have arcs, but there's some that just felt a little unneeded or not, sorry, just unfinished. There's one character that they do dovetail, but there's one character I'd say in the first act that was very strong and they were sometimes kind of missing, and it maybe would have worked to bring that back. But no, overall, I think it's a great film. Definitely check it out. I had a really good time with it. And yeah, I'd say right now be my shoe-in for Best Picture, but there's lots to still see, right? Smash Machines next week, so and I'll be reviewing that. So yeah, if you've seen it, let me know. YouTube, Patreon, Discord, wherever. If you've seen it, if you agree, disagree on some certain things. So I would absolutely recommend it. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Maybe go to like a 9.75, maybe a 10. I'll never write it off because you never know, but that's where I think I am right now, which is pretty good. That to me, my third, fourth favorite movie of the year. I was happy. I was satisfied with my journey here. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in to Travis Told You. I hope when you're listening, you have a good weekend and a good week following after. Like I said, I'll be back on the Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. PST, and it won't be boring.